Welcome into the breakdown. There's a new chief in town. Steve Lancaster, the new CEO of New Zealand Rugby, joins us live on the program. We can't wait. We've got so much to ask him, but we want you to have your say as well. You are the players, the former players, the mums and dads and the volunteers. So scan that QR code right now, and if you've got any burning questions to ask our new CEO, please fire away. We're going to talk Super Rugby. Leicester Fainga'anuku does it again, and the Crusaders starting to rear their head as we get into the playoffs once again. Let's get into it.
The rivalry of North versus South, blue against red, has always occupied a special place in the game. Quick transfer for Bauer, and it's under it. George Bauer!
What an outstanding way to get your first.
Stands a little kick on the left, got their space in behind for Sever Reese. Reese gets it! A big win for the Crusaders in front of 25,000.
Wilson gets the ball away. Oh, it's a spectacular ball. Aupiki, and that's the ball game for the Chiefs. And the Suncorp fans like it. He's busting his way through. Here he goes again.
The Waratahs are a bloody good team. Oh, we live on the edge, don't we?
Again, and Josh Morby still has the most for the line. Morby is going to have four.
They storm clear at the top of the table.
He gives it to his brother. The telekinetic communication between the two of them, and the Brumbies, they march on in 2026.
Oh, another wonderful round of Super Rugby, wasn't it? Tell you what, Mills, Muliaina and Stephen Donald, they've been given the boot. They are on the bench for the first half of the show, but I'm sure they'll understand the selection. Jeff Wilson, you have been selected alongside our new CEO of New Zealand Rugby, Steve Lancaster. Welcome into the program. You have been entrenched in rugby for 4 decades. You've won an NPC title, 3 Super Rugby titles, just in case anyone lost count, and you've been on the breakdown multiple times. How does it feel this time around sitting on that chair? Any different?
It does feel a little bit different, if I'm honest. Yeah.
Well, we've got a poll going and we want the fans to have their say. We are so appreciative of your time and for coming on the program. But first up, we wanted to ask everyone at home. We want to ask you, and we want to ask you at home as well. Steve, what is the #1 priority, or what should Steve's #1 priority be as the new CEO of New Zealand Rugby? Look, we've already got the votes coming in. National success, making money, player safety, fan satisfaction, or the grassroots of the game. If you're to look at those categories, or maybe you've got something in your own mind, you could tell us what is the most important thing for you.
Yeah, that's a really interesting stat there, because it kind of sums up the answer I would have given you regardless of those stats, which is that there is no one single priority. It would be much simpler if there was one priority, but we do have to be cognizant of having a thriving community game, balancing that with the demands of the professional game and our teams in black, generating enough income to invest and power both of those things. And we've got a really big stakeholder network that we also have to manage.
If you had to rank them then, because 40% of people, so the large majority are saying national success, so our teams in black winning.
Yeah.
Is that your major priority if you were to rank them?
Well, I think that's a fair assessment, because that's the bit that we have direct control over, right? The community game, some of those other aspects are very much areas that we invest in our stakeholders to deliver, particularly the provincial unions, clubs and schools as well. But national teams winning on the world stage, that is New Zealand Rugby's primary responsibility.
Congratulations. I've been trying to get those other 2 off this bench since last week, and so I get a break for them for at least the first part of the show. So I'm stoked already. Look, I know your heart and soul is in the game, but clearly, once again, we've had another year where New Zealand Rugby hasn't come out on the right side of the ledger in terms of profitability and being able to manage itself versus, obviously, income and expenditure. How do you return to profitability? Or in the circumstances right now, is that just not realistic and you are biding your time?
Yeah, we absolutely want and intend to return to profitability, but that won't happen in any given year necessarily, because our business operates in a cycle. It's very much a cyclical model. We have peaks and troughs in each year. You look at next year as a Rugby World Cup, it's a good example where we'll lose a significant amount of money because we have less All Black tests at home, which is a big revenue driver for us, and we have increased costs. We had that in 23 as well. And in fact, last year with the World Cup in England also, where we have increased costs. So, we have Lions, British and Irish Lions here next year, and again in 29, the men's team. We know that 29 will be a big revenue year for us. So we look across that cycle, and we look at profitability across that cycle rather than looking at it in isolation.
How important then is All Blacks success in terms of generating that revenue? We hear often the numbers thrown out. The All Blacks earn 80% of New Zealand Rugby's revenue. Is that accurate? And is that why I suppose the performance of that team is so critical to New Zealand Rugby?
Yeah. Look, that number's not necessarily a completely accurate number, but they are a critical driver of our revenue. We have other big drivers, particularly broadcast.
Yep.
Super Rugby and our domestic competitions are really important revenue drivers for us. But the ongoing sustained success of our teams in black, in particular the All Blacks and the Blackfirds, is absolutely critical, right? That is what drives the value of New Zealand Rugby.
If we're talking about the teams in black, and there have been so many comments flooding in already about this very topic, Ali in Wanaka says, is there any wiggle room on overseas player eligibility? I know you've been in the media over the last 24 hours and you have said no. So are you able to confirm for us, Richie Mo'unga, he will not be available to tour South Africa as it stands right now?
He won't be available or eligible to be selected in the initial squad when that is announced. And the reason for that is that he will not have played any rugby in New Zealand at that point in time. So one of the strands of the All Blacks eligibility policy is that a player has played in the immediately preceding domestic competition. At the time when that squad's selected, he will not have.
And it's as simple as that. When I just look at this policy, and I read and listened to you in the media talk about the fact that this is one of those things that tends to keep players in New Zealand or contracted to New Zealand. Why is that? What is it that does keep them there? Is it just pure and simply that they can be selected for the All Blacks? Is that what you're holding on to right now? Because can a player who's leaving at the end of this year be selected for that tour, but we're not going to pick a selected player who's already contracted? Is he not contracted the moment he finishes? Is he not contracted until he plays in a domestic competition?
Yeah, well, again, the contract term is one thing, when he plays is another, but the eligibility policy is really clear. It takes into account a number of things, primarily when they have played or are playing in New Zealand, but also how long they're contracted out for beyond any point in time.
So he's only to the end of the Rugby World Cup, so that's you're
right.
saying, is that not long enough for him to say, you know what, he special treatment? Because we know Dave Rennie wants him. You talk about players staying, though. We're anticipating from Super Rugby, our own research tells us between 30 to 40 players, and some of these players are 22, 23, 24. They haven't reached their potential. They're choosing not to stay. Are there things and conversations we have to have? And can we start keeping more of our talent to strengthen not just the All Blacks, but Super Rugby? Is that possible?
Yeah, it is possible. And you just said before, with regards to the policy, is the prospect or the lure of All Blacks selection the thing that's keeping players here? We think that's one of the things that keeps players here. And in fact, we know that. Right, because we see contracting decisions made by players who commit for a period of time because being eligible for the All Blacks is important. But what also comes with playing for the All Blacks is a level of income. That's another motivator. Our environments, we're really proud of our environments here. Our professional team environments, we believe, are the best in the world. Right, our players are cared for holistically. They come out of our environments and typically are able to go on and fulfil their potential wherever and whatever that might look like. And that's a part of what we see with player movement, right? We produce really good players in New Zealand, and it's a challenge to keep them here.
Okay, so on those really good players, Josh from Remuera has said, this guy's the best player in the world right now, Fehi Fainga'anuku. How can we not keep a guy like this? I know he's contracted overseas. Have you tried to get him out of that contract? Is that contract ironclad? Have you had these conversations with Fehi?
I think, I don't ever talk about individual player contract arrangements, and so I'm not going to do that for Fehi. But he's made his decision. He made it early in the year, and he's been hitting it out of the park since then, right? So that's great for him, and it's a shame that he's leaving. But that's not to say that he'll be gone forever either.
When you look at Super Rugby now, because it's obviously our major professional competition, we used the words for a long time around our MPC in terms of fit for purpose. There's no doubt we've seen, and particularly on Super Round, a magnificent weekend where the fans came together, we celebrated the game. But once again, I talk about players leaving, the strength of that competition. Do you think it's still serving its purpose in terms of developing players for the next level?
Yes, it is serving its purpose in that regard. We have a lot of belief in the product of Super Rugby. The product on the field is a strong product, and all of the metrics that we track tell us that, right? Number of scores tried, winning margins, number of minutes lost to match official intervention. Whether those are tracking up or down, they're all tracking in the right direction. So those markers are really good. But what we don't shy away from is that we don't see the crowds that we would like to see in stadia, right? We have great viewership. Thank you very much to Sky for a great product. We have incredible online engagement. Super Rugby is the most followed domestic rugby competition in the world on social media, right? So the product, we believe, is really good. But we acknowledge that we need to do more to get crowds into stadia, right? And this constant talk about empty seats is a problem. It's something we need to work on.
Are you concerned about this player exodus at that level? It seems as though it's that middle tier, so many of the players who have played for the All Blacks 15, clearly there's a bigger squad that's going to be going to South Africa, which is a fantastic tour that the All Blacks are looking to, I suppose, go into territory they haven't gone to for a long time. Are you concerned about that? How do you rectify that? Or is this purely about funds? And once again, you're talking about generating revenue. Are we doing enough? Can we do enough?
We can do enough, and we can do more, and we're very focused on doing that in terms of generating revenue so we can invest into the game, both professional game and the community game. But look, you talk about this exodus of players, as you call it, heading offshore, and this is a constant challenge for us, and we're incredibly focused, and we work really hard and are generally really successful in retaining the players that we do want to retain. But players do reach a point in their career where they feel like they're ready to experience a new culture, try playing in a new competition, test themselves against different players. The other thing, I think, when you look at a year out from a World Cup is that typically after a World Cup, we see a lot of All Blacks move on. So if you're thinking tactically as a player who's looking at his position in the All Blacks and thinking, well, that looks like it's pretty much locked up, this might be the year to move, right? So there are a whole lot of factors that are at play. We don't celebrate it. We work really hard to minimise that flow, but it is a fact of life. And players can earn a huge amount of money offshore, so we do need to keep generating revenue to feed that.
I've got 2 little boys, and this morning for Mother's Day I spent it down at the local park in Mount Maunganui, and when we were down there were a bunch of kids playing basketball and a bunch of kids playing soccer. There was no one throwing a rugby ball around. My husband, like you, has been entrenched in the game for 40 years. His father was an All Black. He's been playing since he was a little whippersnapper, and he was shocked that there was no one throwing a rugby ball around. Are we still the most attractive game for children coming through, and what can we do to make our game the most attractive?
Yeah, look, I think that's a fair question. It's something that we ask ourselves a lot as well. We're really firstly, isn't it great that kids are playing all those other sports as well, right? So one of the things we encourage and believe in is that kids should play as many sports as possible for as long as possible. And in fact, for those that will kick on and have great careers in rugby, the best thing they can do is play a whole lot of sports, right? What we want them to do is be playing rugby as well, and to see rugby as a sport that they want to stay in. But the point you raise is a really good one, right? There was a time when all you would see was kids throwing a rugby ball around. That is no longer the case. That's a fact, and that's a reality for us. It might be an uncomfortable fact for us, but we're really aware of that challenge, and we're working really hard to address it, right? And again, what I will say, because it's very easy to go down this path of, hey, you don't see any kids throwing rugby balls around, rugby's in trouble. Our junior registration is still incredibly strong, right? We still have approximately 80,000 junior participants in the game, playing at under 13 and below. At this point in time, I just checked before I came on the show, we're 9,000 junior registrations up on the same point in time last year, and we're comparing around about or better than the previous couple of years as well. So it's not all doom and gloom, but we do admit that there is work to do.
I obviously talk about my little boys, but I am a female and I'm a massive advocate for the women's game as well. There's a question in here from Donnie in Northcote. What is your plan for the women's game in New Zealand? Our local Birkenhead Northcote club is 51% girls and women. How is New Zealand Rugby planning to inspire these young females in the sport? Are we doing enough for the women's game, do you think?
There's a few questions in that, but so the first
Last one first. Are we doing enough?
Are we doing enough? No. The answer is no, we're not.
What
we can do more, right? We need to celebrate and harness the Black Ferns, this incredible team that we have, right? And Chris Brown, our new Chief Commercial Officer, has come in. He is, and one of his first observations coming into the role is, holy cow, look at this incredible team we've got, this incredible opportunity. He talks about the joy of the Black Ferns and that we need to leverage the joy of the Black Ferns. If you can see it, you can be it for girls in sport, and the Black Ferns are a great example of that. So, short answer to the last part of that question was no, we're not doing enough and we could do more.
Thanks, Donnie.
Yeah.
Great question from Donnie, 3 parts.
Yeah, and you think about, in a broader sense, the Sevens team as well is clearly the best in the world right now, and it has been for a long, long time.
Yeah.
Can I then ask the question about Sevens and the fact that LA is not too far away, chasing gold? When you talk about having a presence globally, not just in 15's game, but in the Sevens, because there's a lot of chat about the Sevens program right now, there's reduced a number of tournaments. Where do you see that sitting right now, and our investment in terms of New Zealand Rugby's investment in that program?
Yeah, it is a big investment for us. It's a big cost, but it is an investment. Our Sevens teams, which we're really proud of, as you just said, they both perform really well on the world stage. the Blackfern Sevens are setting the bar every tournament they go to, right, which is incredible. It costs us a lot of money, but it is an investment because these tournaments are played in markets that our 15-a-side teams do not play, and that's really important for us in terms of building our brand globally. We're also really mindful that we have obligations to the game and to World Rugby to grow the game, and Sevens is a growth vehicle for World Rugby, right? It's a much more accessible format, less players, shorter games.
Can I ask you about the fact that obviously a lot of positions have been pulled really quickly? So Don Tricker returns, Gilbert Enoka's coming back with the All Blacks. It's almost like we've gone back in time a little bit. And now you've gone into the role you've gone into as the CEO. What's new CFO, new COO? So all of a sudden the organisation seems to be really taking shape. What have you noticed probably in the last 6 months since you've been in charge that's changed? Is there a different feel about the organisation right now?
Yeah, there is. There's some momentum. There really is some momentum. So if I look back beyond the last 6 months, it probably started last year with a strategy reset for us. We had a new board a year ago. Board came in with a completely different lens on the game, with different backgrounds and skills and competencies, and they reset the strategy for the game. It's a really clear and simple strategy. And since that was confirmed in the middle of last year, we've been working to execute that strategy. And so we've got some momentum now, right? As you say, we've got key roles being filled, we've got decisions being made, we're prepared to make decisions, we're prepared to acknowledge where things aren't as good as they could be, and we'll look at that and do things about it. But I think in a word, I would say there's momentum at the moment.
Well, I tell you what, we have been inundated with questions, and we thank you so much for sending them all through. We will get to more questions after this, but you used to be head of the community game, so we sent our roving reporter James Coney into the community yesterday.
Who do you think is the best player in Super Rugby?
Leicester Fainga'anuku.
Probably Duplessis Karifi.
I love scoring tries, so I have to go with Fihi.
I'd have to say Hurricanes winger Fihi.
It's just unbelievable. He's going to break the record, and he's still got games to go up his sleeve.
I'll probably go with Leicester Fainga'anuku. It's pretty impressive at the moment, coming in from the midfield and having the impact that they lose forward.
Who do you think should be All Blacks captain?
Personally, Ardie Savea.
I like Wallace the TTA. Get one of the young boys in.
I'll go Ardie.
Probably Ardie Savea.
Oh, 100% Ardie. King Ardie. Everything King Ardie.
We all saw what he did at the Moana, so he can do that at the next level. Boys have his backing.
Great captain around the park. Like in sticky situations, he's that guy that stands up.
Ardie being Ardie, you know what he brings to the black jersey. I think his leadership, the respect he has from the group. So Ardie.
What would you like to see change about rugby?
Probably need better pathways. We're losing a lot of boys to rugby league.
A lot of clubs are missing out on numbers. Now, our season is like cut real short. What used to be like 16 weeks is now down to 9.
Speed the scrums up. Go for a short arm if you need to reset. Speed the game up.
Probably just need to put more work into the community game, like growing things like the 85s.
Less kicking.
Yeah.
That's it, less kicking.
Look at this. This is where it's made. Come and get it.
Oh, so good to be out in the community with the people at Grassroots, where it all starts, where you started, what you've been overseeing for a number of years now. Do you think the grassroots of the game is in a good way?
Short answer is yes, it is in good heart. But the extension of that answer is that we know there are some challenges, right? We know that senior club rugby is challenged, right? It's a challenge to put out, 23 players plus, match officials, coaches, support staff, week in and week out in our game. But we have really, again, as I just mentioned before, we have really strong comparative registration data on our junior players. Teenage numbers are also tracking up at the same point in time last year. So, as I say, we're more than happy to admit where there are challenges, but there's plenty happening.
There's a poll there if you'd like to get involved. When was the last time you went to a club game? Scan that QR code this weekend, in the past month, in the past year, or ages ago. And there's a few questions from the people at home that I just want to hit you with.
Yep.
The first one is on the NRL, and we heard that and club players talking about our players now heading to the NRL. How do you make Super Rugby attractive like the NRL? That's from Anthony in Hamilton.
Yeah. And as I said earlier, like a lot of the metrics that we track say that the product is really good, but we've actually got to shift the narrative and get people thinking that about the game, right? Because too often we talk about, empty seats in stadia, player drain, exodus of players offshore.
So you think Super Rugby's a better product than the NRL right now?
I'm not going to get into that. Like, we're very focused on ourselves, on our game, and a lot of people want to try and pitch up this. If rugby league's doing well, then rugby must be struggling, or vice versa. Both things can be true, right? Both sports can thrive. I really believe that.
Oh, things are clearly in a healthy state. Half of you said you went to a club rugby game on the weekend. There's another one here from Bryce in Wellington, and this sentiment has come through a number of times about Moana Pasifika. What's New Zealand Rugby's current position and role with the future of Moana Pasifika and the licence holder in the franchise?
Yeah, good question. Not the first time I've been asked that in the last week either. But I mean, first thing I want to say is, it's a really regrettable position for everyone that Moana Pasifika finds itself in, but in particular for the people that are involved in that club, right? The players, the staff, the fans. So I want to acknowledge that. Our position is that we are not in a position to essentially bail them out of that problem, right? But we have a very open mind to parties who we are currently engaging with, who are looking to find a way to keep that club operating beyond this year.
So you think it could be around in 2027?
It's a possibility, absolutely a possibility. And we're working, and over the next month, we expect to have a lot more clarity on that. We know we need to have that clarity before too long for next year's competition.
Look, there's a number of elements of the game you're going to have to deal with, and speculation. Clearly, the ANZAC Test is one of those, but that's obviously ANZAC weekend. You're talking about when that could be played. Then you start thinking about Super Rugby, the Super Round. Can they coexist? Conversations with the Super Rugby clubs, are they in favour? Could that really change the shape of what a season might look like?
Well, I don't think it would change the shape of what the season might look like, but I think it could be a real boon for rugby to have a tentpole game at that time of year, and particularly in the Australian market if we're playing it in Australia, right? And they could really do with that. So we haven't made any decisions on that. We've been really open that we're considering it. Rugby Australia are really keen on it. We think it's a good idea, but there's a whole lot of stuff that we have to work through.
But that's not replacing Super Round, right?
No, it's not. That's right. So Super Round doesn't have to be played on ANZAC weekend.
No,
it was last weekend, last ANZAC Day, but it could actually be played on any weekend in the competition. So those two things can absolutely coexist. I mean, Super Round, what a success! That was, that was awesome.
Special, right?
Yeah.
Stephen Donald's not here, so I can throw him under the bus, but he always talks about the fact that he would blow up Super Rugby and bring back the NPC. What's your stance on that? Is Super Rugby the future for rugby in New Zealand, or do you like the National Provincial Championship?
Both things are true. So I do like the National Provincial Championship.
Are you with Beav or?
Yeah, no, I'm not. So I'm a huge advocate and supporter of the NPC. I love that competition, the history, the tribalism across the country. But we absolutely believe that a Trans-Tasman professional competition where our best talent are aggregated into a small number of New Zealand teams is the right thing for us, both in terms of the commercial product, but also preparing our players for international rugby.
So you said New Zealand teams there, so you wouldn't be open to what Murray suggested or what Mills Muliaina often suggests, and having New Zealand players play across any franchise, whether that be New Zealand, Australia, Fiji or Moana Pasifika?
Look, and again, nothing's ever set in stone, but right now the potential for that is really limited. And again, we really believe in having our best players playing for our teams and our competitions.
So the NPC has been described a lot, like I use those words, fit for purpose, and it was talked about for the last couple of years about things needed to change. Yep. Is anything going to change this season? Clearly, I haven't seen anything. Are we exploring different laws or playing the game a slightly different way? Where are we at with that competition right now? Or is it, once again, we're in discussion mode? Because it's clearly costs a huge amount of money.
Costs a lot of money, also generates a lot of money. And when those previous discussions about whether or not that competition is fit for purpose, a lot of that was about whether it's sustainable.
Yep.
And what we're seeing is that by and large it is sustainable now. The provincial unions are operating within their means. And actually, it's more about consolidating that competition. Again, last year's final in Christchurch, what a great day.
That must be music to your ears, though.
Yeah.
If you're saying the word sustainable about the NPC, it's a long time since that's happened, right?
Yep, that's right. And we are seeing positive progress there. So, yeah, we are seeing that the provincial unions are managing to operate their NPC teams. By and large, there's always exceptions, but by and large, they're operating those teams within their means.
There have been thousands and thousands and thousands of questions on here. Two quick ones to finish, because majority of them have been about that overseas selection policy. There's absolutely no way that even in the future you'd budge on that policy.
Never say never, right? And I'm certainly not going to commit us indefinitely on that. Nothing that we do is set in stone because we live in a really dynamic context. But for now, we're really clear. We revisited the policy with the board last week and we've affirmed that we believe the policy is fit for purpose at this point in time.
So you still can win the Rugby World Cup with the players in New Zealand? Okay, and the other thing, what is the one thing as the CEO of New Zealand Rugby, which has been likened to the role of Prime Minister in New Zealand, what's the one thing that keeps you up at night? There won't be much sleeping going on in your job now, will there?
No. The one thing that keeps me up is the health of the game. I care deeply about this game,
Yeah.
right? I've come through it from playing as a kid, playing at all levels of the game. It's been really good to me. It's given me a lot, and I just want to see this game continue to give New Zealanders some of the great opportunities it's given me.
Really, really lovely to get you on the program. Thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it so much. We know we're going to talk to you many, many times going forward, but we can't wait to see what you do in the chair. You're the captain of our ship now, the captain of New Zealand Rugby, and we're very excited for you, Steve Lancaster, joining us on The Breakdown. Look, it is a massive weekend of Super Rugby coming up in Hamilton. The Chiefs taking on the Highlanders.
Mate from Proctor for the first time this season. Oh, it falls. And into the hands of Brad Shields, who puts a kick through. And he's got Kenny to Arnold chasing, looking for the bounce. Kenny! Oh, what a try that is!
Brad Shields winding back the clock. That is definitely going to be recreated in the schoolyard on Monday.
And he owes Brad Shields a drink tonight for sure.
Now Fainga'anuku stands a little kick on the left on their space and behind for Seven Reese.
What on earth is going on here, Leicester Fainga'anuku? It's all your show tonight. The things that he is doing are just unnatural. They're unusual and they are not expected.
Oh, welcome back to The Breakdown. Look, they have returned. Selections, not an issue anymore. Stephen Donald and Mills Muliaina, welcome back to the show. Let's react to that before we react to the fact we have the CEO on the program. Who did it better, Leicester Fainga'anuku or Brad Shields over the weekend, do you think? A man who could kick beef? You go first.
Hold on a second.
Yeah, hold on, we'll go over here.
Yeah, and because to be fair, although Chip and Chase Merchant, they're always square on, what I loved about Shields' effort was he had to banana it back in off the outside foot. So a little squaring it back in, I like that one.
Oh, you go
yeah,
Brad.
I'd go Brad Shields on that.
Brad Shields. What about you,
I'd have to agree.
Rosie?
Because look at the angle he's running on. He's almost running out. He understands that.
So,
but he still put it on the point of the ball.
Yeah.
Okay, so who are you going then?
I'm definitely going Leicester Fainga'anuku.
Straight out of his playbook.
Because straight out of my playbook on the angle, I'm the guy on the outside just charging through going, come on, Merch, just slide one through. Beautiful vision. I thought it was outstanding from Leicester, really, really was.
To be fair, I don't know why we're pitting one against the other. We should be
Because they're
celebrating
awesome, right?
both because they were both outstanding. And what about getting the CEO of New Zealand Rugby on the program, Steve Lancaster, as well? We've got another poll up for you, so scan that QR code and have your say. How did you think Steve Lancaster performed? His first official appearance on the breakdown under the CEO title. And look, 70% of you are so positive about our new CEO, which is just fantastic. He answered all the questions. You two sat in the green room, putting your feet up. What did you make of the performance?
I
Is there anything that piqued your interest?
The thing is, there's a lot, right? There's lots that's happened over the last few years, and we haven't had a CEO, so there are going to be some burning questions, but I thought he answered them really well. You know, the state of the game, sort of where they want to get it to. There's obviously positive sort of numbers in terms of the grassroots stuff. And also moving forward, I like the fact that, you know, at least he was honest about where they stand with Richie Moana.
Yeah.
Now, if Richie Moana gets named now for South Africa, that's going to be a different story, but he's signed it off. So we can cut that sort of discussion.
But it can change. He did say that as well. Things and circumstances can change, and I guarantee you, if there's an injury or when they feel as though they need him, I did hear him during the week talk about the fact we have got other first fives. It's not like we haven't got other first fives. I loved what he was saying about the Black Ferns. I mean, clearly they're seeing an opportunity there, Beaver, and trying to grow the game and continue to grow the game. And when you start talking about registrations being up at this time of the year, he has to run on metrics, right? They're the numbers. He can't deny the numbers, so he's obviously comfortable with it, where that's going.
Beav, he's not ready to blow up Super Rugby just yet. He thinks the NPC is sustainable. So what did you think of those comments?
Yeah, no, and that's his decision on that. But what I liked is he kept touching on the grassroots stuff.
Yeah.
And you can't have everything at the top without it, and it's not a cliche. And it's good to hear registrations are up, but there's obviously so much work that needs to be done. I mean, we all get along to club footy and we know it has its issues, and it's good that he's well and truly aware of it.
There's an ANZAC Test coming, right?
Yeah,
you get the sense there.
I think from a commercial sense, it makes sense, right? And the success of Super Rugby, the Super Round, was fantastic. But, you know, coming together with the Aussies and like that, I mean, from a revenue point of view, good decision.
Moana Pasifika. It sounds like Moana Pasifika is still well and truly on the cards. Your inside last week said 50-50, but the fact that he came out there and said there's two potential suitors that they're talking to tells you there's a chance.
But also what he said was that they weren't in a position to do it themselves, New Zealand Rugby. That's not their responsibility. But the fact that they're working hard and behind the scenes recognising if it can happen and if there's a licence and someone's there to do it, and they are sustainable as well. That's the most important thing for me. I think that's great to hear. Like, got to give them every chance. It sounds as though they're buying a little bit more time, Mills, because they're more positive. So the longer that goes on, then the closer, clearly, it's going to get.
I like that he's mentioned there are people that they're talking to. Who are they, though? You know, that's kind of what we want to know, because what we're hearing also from the Players Association is that kind of law group haven't put anything, you know, on the table. So it's positive to hear that there are obviously not kind of law, but others that are willing to try and make sure that Moana Pasifika stays alive.
I just want to go back to eligibility, because I would say that's probably the theme that had the most questions coming through. And so many of you at home want to save Whihi and save Flanders. So clearly plenty of Hurricanes fans on the text line today. But do you think there is anything more that can be done to save these players after what you heard Steve saying? You put those questions to him.
Yeah, I think
the 35 players heading offshore.
The part I struggle with is the way that Super Rugby players are contracted, because their maximum they can earn is so low compared to what the global market demands. Like those middle tier players, and they can only get up to about $200,000. Now I know that's a lot of money, but when they're getting offered 600,000 or 300,000 or 400,000 euro, or they're going into Japan and the yen's through the roof, it's to me that's the challenge, is the fact that you've got guys who are in 2 or 3 years' time, Beaver, Mills, Kirsty, they're going to be All Black quality players. Unfortunately, they're not employing their trade here. And there's been a lot of investment in them already. 22-year-olds, 23-year-olds who are unfortunately leaving. I know they're working hard on it, but to me it's the way they structure their contracts. We just cannot reward some guys, and this is clearly one of those situations. It happened in Ali Lamapi, right?
So we don't
they
have
couldn't
the money,
get over it.
So why don't we just let them go and open the eligibilities? I mean, that's what everyone on here is saying. Surely we want to be able to select our best players. England let players go. South Africa, half of their team is playing in Japan at the moment. And look, they're back-to-back Rugby World Cup winners. Why can't we loosen that eligibility rule?
I think it's more complicated than just, we're going to pick them or not. For me, you guys asked them about basketball, NRL. To me, it plays into that. And you talk about grassroots, it all flows into it. So I'm still of the belief that I think they've got the rule right, because I think if you talk about all those things that you guys mentioned, whether those All Black superstars are playing for the Blues, the Chiefs, the Crusaders, I think has an effect on those aspects of the game that he's trying to govern. So I don't think you can just say, yep, we're going to be better because we're going to pick these guys over here because we're only worried about national success.
We're severely top-heavy, though.
We are top-heavy.
We're top-heavy in terms of the amount of money our top players, and it's part of their contract is apportioned to Super Rugby, but most of it's to the All Blacks.
Yeah.
And to me, there should be a little bit more flexibility around that for some players.
I totally agree. And you talk about the 200 in the Super. If you talk about Flanders and also Fainga'anuku, I don't even think they get to that level. And you've got to remember where they've come. Fainga'anuku, if Nahula wasn't injured, he wouldn't possibly got an opportunity. So that's the situation they face. We're top heavy. Our All Blacks get paid well. You know, they do. It's the guys underneath, and so that's where they've got to actually prioritise where that money goes. And does it mean then we have a B squad that plays at the same time, so to be able to keep guys here and pay them a bit more?
Sorry, quick correction. It's not just Hurricanes fans that want to see Flanders and Whihi stay. That has been made clear to me on the machine. So keep them coming. We look forward to reading all your comments. Time now for They Said It.
And back by popular demand in the city. The people asked for them, and there they are, the famed Crusaders horses.
And it's Nicholson on debut.
Which one's going to take claim for it?
I have to give it to Mum.
Tomorrow's Mother's Day. Good boy.
Boys.
Oh, we've got a dearie me.
Someone is about to get a very stern telling off.
Now listen, boys. Cracking game of footy. We don't need you carry on like that, all right? It's been an awesome game, all right? Yeah, but we don't need that, okay? Let's get on with it.
Oh, it's been feisty. I think Lavanini remembered one of his roles in this team of the enforcer. Welcome to Dunedin.
It's one of the best mows in the comp, without doubt.
Always got a huge smile on his face. And what a gentleman. He's even holding my umbrella for me. Dupes, congratulations.
He hasn't got that down.
Speaking of down, there's some shorts down there as well.
It's a real challenge to see who can hold the umbrella better than the other. And we're not sure. Okay, a lot of rain there, Aaron. Not for me.
As the officials leave the field.
Well, they're getting rinsed soon.
Yeah, it took me 100 games to score my first try, so kids, never give up, man. Never give up on your dreams.
100 games, first try. Wahoo! And the name of the move was called Trigger, and this is a gamer name, Trigger G.
Woohoo! First try, come on!
Oh, what a time for George Bowen in his 100th game. You had to celebrate.
That was my
with him,
highlight of the
didn't you?
weekend, let's be honest. The smile on his face and the fact the team decided, you know what, let's design a move for the guy to score a try. And when you do it against the Blues as well.
And it came off.
And it came off.
Oh, that was such
awesome.
a good moment
So good.
on the weekend. But look, if you weren't talking about George Bowen, you were talking about Leicester Fainga'anuku. And we have another poll for you. Look, we're going to bring it up very, very shortly. But Millsy, tell me, has there been a better 7 in New Zealand rugby over the last 4 weeks than this guy?
No, he is definitely. When he first came on the Traps and they played there was a lot of would he go right? Every week he's gone to another level. And man, on Friday night he was exceptional.
Well, that's the thing. And in the last 2 weeks, it's been against really quality opposition, 2 top New Zealand teams. So we ask the question then, where should Leicester start for the All Blacks? Should he start at centre, on the wing, at flanker, or should he be this hybrid player off the bench? Beaver, is there ever a day where you could see Leicester starting for the All Blacks in that number 7 jersey? Because people at home are calling for it now.
I mean, of course there's going to be a day, but for me right now, if you were to say looking forward to that South African Test series, I would say it's either centre or it's impact off the bench, with the ability to play 7 with 25 to go or 20 to go. But with what Millsy said, when you watched Friday night, it was all of a sudden you were looking at him as a 7, not a 13.
Well, has he started to really change the shape of the Crusaders as they're trending towards the business end of the season? He's almost changed their season by moving to that position.
Look, I think a lot of factors have happened for the Crusaders where all of a sudden they've gone back to their forward pack has really started to announce their presence in terms of their scrum work, their line-out work, their defence, right? He's been a part of, I think, the optimism, the excitement, and he's doing things on attack in a position where normally you don't get ball carriers. We're seeing him chip kick and grubber where they're thinking he might carry. But however, let's be very, very careful here is the fact that, you know, the step up at a flanker to the next level, and you talk about has there been someone better? I'll tell you who's pretty good. His name's Anton Segner. And his engine, and the engine to play 7, now this is a play that's happened at the 30-minute mark of the game. And just watch here the difference between two guys in terms of, I think, having and understanding the different engine that you need. That's Leicester Fainga'anuku, who's been into everything at this point. That's Anton Segner, who's been on for just over 20-odd minutes, and he's playing at a different level. For me, we're talking about having Duplessis Kirifi, you talk about Dalton Popoli, you talk about genuine 7s. He's doing all of the work in and around the breakdown. You watch him, he's doing some great stuff over the ball. But to say that it'll translate to the international game and the tempo and the physicality of that, not quite yet, but...
Did you have to point out his 1 flaw in 3 weeks?
No, I can go and search for plenty if you want, OK? What I am saying is the fact, don't start throwing all of these, oh, he should start in the All Black numbers. We've got guys like Richie McCaw and Sam Cane who have done that for years. He's not there yet. Let's not get carried away. Impact in the position? No problem at all.
OK, well, let's take a look at what has happened because, look, a couple of weeks ago, before Leicester was moved to 7, the Crusaders were hovering just inside the top 6. They're up to 4 now. Where do we think the Crusaders are going to finish? And will the Hurricanes still remain top in 3 weeks' time, Beaver, considering Cam Roigard is out for the remainder of the regular season? Not playoffs, regular season.
Well, I think when you looked at what they did against Moana and they took out 4 or 5 guys who you would have said crucial to the Hurricanes when they're under pressure, and they went and got the job done professionally. So can they cover Roigard for the next couple of weeks? Yep. But I think when you look at the Chiefs and the Crusaders, they're coming.
So who's more likely to finish at the top then?
I'd be surprised if it's not the Chiefs.
Is that coming from a place of bias or?
Possibly. No, but everyone's got a horrible run home.
Well, they all play each other. So the top 4 all play each other. So I think that's almost locked in stone who the top 4 are going to be. But the order is where things are going to get interesting.
Brumbies moving.
Okay.
Brumbies have got a nice little finish. They can win their last 2 games, and all of a sudden they could promote themselves. They could. I don't think they can quite reach 3rd. But the Reds, funnily enough, have got 3 games, and if they won all those games as well, they haven't got derbies to worry about against New Zealand teams. I mean, so there's a lot to play for. All of a sudden, it'll change very quickly.
The thing for me, everyone apart from the Hurricanes have still got plenty
Play
more.
for you, yeah.
The Hurricanes, to me, on the other side of it, I think from a rhythm and a mental and also maturity side, they seem a lot more far ahead than anyone else. And that game in the weekend, it was tricky conditions, had a lot of guys out, but man, they were composed and they stayed patient with it. And their skill execution was outstanding in weak conditions.
So the Canes are at their peak, do you think? They're at the
I don't.
best
No,
that they can be this
not
season.
quite. I think they're a lot more far ahead than anyone else. Everyone's been a little bit more clunky. You're getting a more settled sort of Hurricanes, even though they haven't got guys out.
That was a good performance, eh? Like without Love and Roigard, I mean, that was really good.
Really.
But as B's been saying all year, the Hurricanes have got depth. They're able to cover these positions.
But so have the Chiefs.
He's been saying it every single week.
A lot more professional performance than I think you would have got from the Hurricanes 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, you could have seen them losing that, but not at the moment. They are too well in tune.
Okay, well, there is still plenty more to come on the breakdown. Believe it or not, it feels like we've been going for 2 hours already. There's been that much content jammed into the show. No Cam Roigard for the Hurricanes. They head up to Eden Park. They've got the Blues this Saturday night. It is going to be an enormous New Zealand derby battle.
Plays it up for his half again. Long pass along the back line. Hurricanes are going to play the wide ball over to the right wing side, and Josh Morby strong and he scores. Well, he's so good in open space. Josh Morby shifts it on for Proctor, trying to free the ball away. Rova has it again. In the corner, Morby for two. He's got it. Want to barge his way over. Billy Proctor. Another for Morby, yes. Hat-trick for Josh Morby. As it comes for Josh Morby. Again, moving in, and Josh Morby still has a nose for the line. Morby is going to have four.
It is absolute showtime from Josh Morby tonight.
Showtime. 4. The hat-trick wasn't enough for Josh Morby. Look, we've done enough talking about Whihi Fainga'anuku on this show. He is one shy of the all-time Super Rugby try-scoring record, but Josh Morby, Beeve, is just behind him.
He's only 3 shy.
He's on 12.
Oh, he's on 12. Yeah, I had him on 13. But
Maths has never been your strong point.
no, it hasn't been. But you talked about the depth of the Canes, and you've got Morby, Whihi. Kenny showed up in the weekend for about 20 minutes and scored a couple of tries in his first 5 minutes. So, and you still got Harkin doing great things at 15. So there's some depth there, Kirst.
He's been good, hasn't he, since coming back from France, was he?
He was good when he left Mills, wasn't he? He's a good all-round player.
He's come back a lot earlier than what his contract was for, wasn't it? And I think it's that. No one's really talked about it because everything's gone on the other side with Fainga'anuku's performance. But he's a solid player, and in the weekend in tough conditions, he slipped his way through 4 tries. But if you're a winger these days and you're playing for the Hurricanes, you're going to pick up some 5-pointers.
So who gets that record, Josh or Whihi?
Race is on. And if either of them get that, I think the Hurricanes will be stoked, right? They'll be stoked either way. It's great to see a team that continues to play. I think we all wonder, is it their first week with the game? Other than the loss to the Drua, which was, that's their first week with the game, and they still play some really good
That
football.
illustrates their style, right? When the wingers are picking up so many tries, usually we're seeing a dry out, maybe a hooker or another 6 because they're line-out drives. But that's the style the Hurricanes continue to play, and they were tough conditions.
OK, well, let's take a look how many Hurricanes make our breakdown team of the week after 13 rounds, Beaver. You picked the Type 5 this week. Your expertise is very much welcome. And I'm looking at where you've gone here, and it makes sense.
Yeah, well, I was in Dunedin. And
makes perfect sense, doesn't it?
Sorry, I was talking about scrums and Ethan de Groot getting penalties at will yesterday in Dunedin, set up that first half performance. And then a few game-changing Chiefs. Takeo didn't play that much, but he turned the game a bit, I thought, with his impact. And Josh Lord, while he was on the field, was running around like something else, Millsy.
Yeah. Pretty good, mate.
Yeah, he's a good footballer. He's a good footballer.
It's not easy doing the Type 5, is it?
No, I enjoyed it. I'll be happy to stay there all year long.
Oh, there it is. Lock him in. Type 5.
We locked you into the low season 9 and 10. Talk us through your selection.
Well, I've obviously gone...
You've gone Leicester.
I've gone Leicester. Fainga'anuku, he's played outstanding the last 3 weeks. Satiti, for me, scored a couple of tries over in hard place for them to win over there, and he scored a couple. And Brad Shields with that kick.
One thing.
And everything else. No, he was really good. I mean, his leadership was outstanding. Lonergan, for me too, and Damien McKenzie, they locked things up at 9 and 10.
OK, what about the midfield and back 3, Jeff?
You want to comment on one, don't you?
No, I thought Lonergan was pivotal for the Brumbies. They needed a special performance and got it. My outsides, look, I think Timothy Tavatavanawa had some pivotal moments at the game for the Highlanders, and most of it was over the ball. He's probably the best in the competition.
Surely he could play 7.
Well, he's running around like Leicester Fainga'anuku, no doubt about it. I think across the board, Caleb Tangatau's once again, first game back from concussion, and he is dynamic. I mean, we've talked about him already. He's just doing those things like, that's Joseph Swatali, he's making miss, but it was the second try I thought was really impressive to me. His footwork in close channels. He's breaking the line, finding a support. I mean, scoring tries, look at this. I mean, stepping, acceleration. To me, when you've got that instinct to get you around the ball, this was an outstanding finish, Mills, to me. Write him in. He's an All Black. And the thing is, the Highlanders are unlikely to make the playoffs. It's pretty tough for them right now, so he's probably just got 2 more games to nail it and hope some of these other guys don't get more chances, because that's what can happen.
Jimmy wants to know why there was no Billy Proctor in your team. He set up almost every try, so you're going to have to justify yourself now. You've picked a superstar.
Yeah, Joseph Swatali, though, he missed a couple of tackles earlier on, but you saw the potential once again on attack and what he can do. He is some sort of athlete. So for me, it was just really nice to see him out there. He's had some injury challenges, but if he's used properly and well and he can get his hands on the ball, he's only going to get it for a couple more weeks because the Waratahs aren't going anywhere. But I think for me, it was just nice to see him. Look, Proctor's been really, really good. I think in terms of the situation of the game, I think Swatali did some really nice things. That's pretty good footy for me, Mills.
See him up close.
Yeah, I love seeing him up close, but I appreciate that text, because sometimes Goldie just picks these people and he doesn't know how to justify them. But I was glad to see that come.
Yeah, but he did. Look, he justified himself, and he's justified.
He was very
good. Can you go back to the green room and eat your minties? Go and eat your minties.
You're off the hook now. You're off the hook. We've got a lot to look forward to in the coming months. Super Rugby playoffs, of course, and Super Rugby Aupiki is back. Yes, it's at a different time of year. The international calendar for women have changed, and that's why Super Rugby Aupiki has been shifted to later on in the season. We start off on the 13th of June. Back-to-back matches, 2 o'clock and then 4 o'clock. The Blues, defending champions, up against the Poa, and then Matatu against Manawa, and that one is down at One New Zealand Stadium. These girls, with the talent that they've got under the roof, Jeff, are going to go absolutely berserk. I cannot wait for this competition to get started.
Yeah, I think this is really interesting, given the fact that some of the players have obviously played some international rugby, so maybe coming in a little bit more prepared, Mills. I think that'll help. There's obviously some real clarity about how the national team wants to play, and so whether that filters down. But what we've seen over the last couple of years, more competitive every year. Like there hasn't been one team dominating each team, and there's usually a little bit of movement as well in terms of players. So can't wait.
I think it's later. It's later in the season when that movement starts to happen. That everyone sort of comes in and depending on how well they're prepared, we've got a little bit of a different sort of scenario right now, because the Black Ferns have sort of already had a head start on that. So bringing everyone else with them in the style that the Black Ferns are trying to implement, I think that's pretty key.
Okay, look, we've got a couple of quick fire questions here and we don't have long. So I'm going to ask you, Beeve, this one's from Zach. Who's your second choice 9 for the All Blacks at the moment?
Oh, great question.
Come on, answer it for Zach.
Great question. Cortez Ratama.
No bias there at all. Stu from Canterbury, having backs who can play in the forwards and vice versa is what makes the All Blacks different. It's why we punch above our weight, thinking outside of the box. So, Millsy, Leicester, again, I'm going to go back to you. You think he could play there for the All Blacks at 7?
I think he's got the ability to. I know what Jeff showed earlier before, but I think the more time he has on more, the better it becomes. I actually think he's a 6. There you go.
So you've moved him already?
I moved him to 6, mate. I think that. I think he would. But does it jeopardise his ability to play 13? It possibly does now.
Okay.
I hope he doesn't get caught in no man's land.
That's the thing, right?
I hope he doesn't get caught in no man's land and forgetting what he was and what he can do in the 13 or 14 or 11 jersey as well.
Okay, some quick fires. Chiefs or Landers on Friday night?
Landers, season's on the line. We need a massive upset. We're going to get it.
Chiefs or Landers?
The Landers, if they can play for 80, they're going to be a problem. But no, we're the Chiefs.
Blues, Hurricanes?
Oh, it's Hurricanes, man. They're too hard. They're such a good team at the moment.
The Hurricanes coming out. Round 14. Look, it's going to be absolutely epic. How great to be able to get Steve Lancaster on the program, the CEO of New Zealand Rugby. Thank you so much for all your questions, your comments, for voting on all of our polls as well. And a big happy Mother's Day to all the mums out there, especially to ours. Thank you so much for watching.
And to you.